So a lot of companies see the need to go into sustainability, but the company might not go into that journey because sometimes it's hard to justify the cost, the returns. Sometimes it's been qualitative, sometimes it's actually long term. The cost is now, but the benefits long term, for example. So not many companies goes into, but Decathlon goes big way into it. I just read their sustainability report. It's more than 100 pages, my goodness. I advise you to read it. It's really good stuff. They're doing a lot of things in this area. So my question for you for this morning is, what motivates Decathlon to embark on this journey?
Yeah. So essentially, I think there are three main reasons why we decided to embark on this journey. The first one, we are active lover of sport. All of us, we do sports. And my wife is telling me, hey, let's go diving. Right. And then we start to take a look at where we can potentially dive, where it's going to be fascinating to dive. And then we look at, oh my goodness, the degradation of the coral reefs. And then we see that, hey, our playgrounds are changing so quickly. We put a question mark to what could be the future of sports if the areas at which we are practicing is going to change. So that's the very first impulse of change. We spend a lot of time in the Alps, for example, our Kestra and our mountain section. Their shops are in the Alps, and we see that the environment is changing so quickly, and it's something that they see on a daily basis, right? So that prompts a change in our mindset. How do we continue to preserve in order to protect so that we can continue to play? The second one is in our real estate department. We are studying how long our stores will be present for. Because if you look at cities like Ho Chi Minh, you look at cities like Jakarta, we look at cities like Venice, we look at cities like Maldives, where we already have a presence of stores, or we want to continue to expand in these areas, we see, oh no, these places might not last. So it's going to impact the business tomorrow. And it's going to impact the decisions we make, into where we are going to open, how we are going to open, how we are going to expand. So that's the second point, future-proofing our business. And the third one, we decided to take the plunge. We have been around for 47 years. We are manufacturer, designer, retailer, seller. And we have a lot of benefits from the economies of scale. But that comes with a big cost on the impact of carbon footprint. And when we take that plunge, you say we are going to really study our carbon footprint after all these years of our job. Then we see that, hey, we have an impact on our own playground as well. And so it's time that we take the change, we take the plunge to make that difference. So yeah, in summary, these 3 points really provoked a lot of process change and the embarkment of sustainability.
Thank you. I'll go into what Decathlon does, but in particular in this journey. I think it's true in the sense that a lot of times the consumers have to see the impact before they take action. For example, there's a study that says, ask Singaporean, do they care about what happens to the polar bear? They say they don't, because the last polar bear we have in the zoo died some years back. I think it's called Inuka. So they don't really see the causal effect. So it's a valid point that sometimes you have to see the impact of climate change before that drives some action. So let's pass to Baptiste. Vestiaire, I understand it's created in 2009 by friends who share a passion for fashion and accessibility. So basically it promotes circular economy because it kind of give products, luxury products a second life, for example. So the first question for you, Baptiste, is when Vestiaire first started, how's the market for pre-owned luxury fashion like?
So the company was created by Fanny and Sophie, two fashion lovers in France. And actually the first name of the company was Vestiaire de Copine, which in French makes more sense. It's basically friends that want to swap clothes. And I was for the need of wanting a piece for 2 nights and not having to want to buy something and then go through the effort of reselling. So they wanted to put together their wardrobes. And I think that was for them the beginning of the circular economy, or maybe we didn't have a label for it yet. And yeah, so that came really as a true fashion passion and as a need to save cost and be a bit authentic in your choice.
Okay. I think what I'm guessing from this question is some of us might think, hey, this is really good idea. let's have a startup that addresses some of this issue. So my question for you is that, what makes the founders say, yes, we should go into business and this make good business sense, for example? How is the market condition like that?
So after when the group of friends expand, they see that there is a business case. They see that they are up to like what we see today as a mega trend, because second-hand has been existing forever for many categories of product. I think there's a bit of stigma on fashion, but as second-hand is entering every categories of product nowadays, fashion was one of them. And I think they took the bet to focus on luxury, which of course is high quality product, craftsmanship that you want to celebrate. And there was an opportunity to basically enable an online tech platform that doesn't need physical footprint. And with logistics system improving, you could basically improve the flow and the assortment. And the idea was also for everyone to be able to digitalize your wardrobe, so that your wardrobe is there online, not even having to open your closet, and then you can take the one from a friend that you want. So
I see. So from what I found, so being a moderator, you have to do some research on who you're interviewing. So what I read is that 2009, when Vestiaire started, comes right after financial crisis. So that can't help in the sense that it makes people more willing to go into second luxury. So a more interesting question then, given the present economic climate now, how do you think the pre-owned luxury industry would do? How the industry?
As you just mentioned, I think it's first we are on a mega trend of like the second-hand gaining over. But as you say, it's a way for people to monetize their wardrobe.
Yep.
We saw a lot that COVID was a big accelerator for us, because people had so much time at home to do it and just clean their wardrobe. And our business model is really dependent on if we have the supply at the right price, it will sell.
Okay.
It's just, I need the people to sell their clothes. Buying is easy. People always come to me and they only think buy. I only think about who will sell on my platform. So now people realize that they have maybe $2,000-$3,000 bags or pieces of clothing that are just sitting in their closet that they haven't been wearing in quite some time. And, we want to give a second life to this product, a third life, and so on. So the second-hand fashion industry is growing 20 to 30% year on year.
Oh, yeah.
It's already 100 to 120 billion business. So it's growing very fast. We are there, and we just need, to remove the stigma and work hard with our partners, with our operations to build that trust that we need for luxury second-hand to exist, authentication and so on. But I think overall, there's a big market trend. Luxury has been very resilient in the last macroeconomic conditions. We've seen it. So I think.
Okay. So generally, there's a trend for people willing to buy second-hand luxury products. At the same time, there's a trend of people selling away luxury products they own that can't fit the market, for example.
Yes.
I think a logical question would be, is there a fear that the second-hand luxury market may be driving customers away from purchasing the first-hand items? Is this a valid fear? Is it a valid concern?
I think this is a trend, and this is also a personal belief. I hope that every second-hand market will grow faster than first-hand markets. That means that, as Nathaniel mentioned, we are going in the right direction of buy and throw. My mission is for people to buy less but buy better.
Okay.
We are the opposite of fast fashion.
Yes.
We just banned fast fashion from our platform. That's a big commitment, so that's why we want second hand to do well. We need first hand to exist. A lot of people will still buy first hand, and that's great. We just want to reduce the global consumption, and we want to fight over consumption. So that's why we provide the system. But I think second hand is growing fast. I think it's personally a good thing, but it's also celebrating like craftsmanship, all these luxury brands, they build products that are there to last forever, not just to be worn on 2 or 3 dinner nights.
Sure.
And I think it's an opportunity for the brands as well. Of course, people say, but you're killing the market. No, because every week I see new brands trying to do sustainable second-hand business model.
Okay.
So we work with the brands to help them on the sustainability and circular journey. So how can they keep their products in the market, because their products are always better out in the street or being worn but sitting in a closet.
Sure. Okay. So this question intrigued me also. So according to the BCG report, so what they found is that majority of the people who buy pre-owned luxury products are not people who buy first-hand. So in a way, it doesn't really cannibalize the market so much. And also, in fact, it is a good way for someone to get into luxury products, right? I can't afford first-hand, or buy second-hand, but maybe that then get me into the market to maybe consider buying first-hand next time. And also, what's interesting for you in the sense that, if I sell away, for example, my Panerai watch now, it gives I have more money to buy something new. So in a way that kind of fit the industry. So yeah, so I suppose that addressed the some projection from you. How do you think the market will grow? As you say, I suppose you just mentioned the second-hand market you see will be growing faster than the first-hand market. All right.
I'm happy you read our BCG report.
All right. So let's do a bit of marketing for Vestiaire. So what do you think is the advantages of me buying from you when I want second-hand luxury products?
I think that there are many advantages. Maybe 3 main. The first one is that you make almost an activist choice of not buying first-hand but second-hand. You reduce the carbon footprint of the product by 90%.
Sure.
So we work really a lot on the impact. We are B Corp to understand really how we contribute to that. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is what we call the upscaling effect. As you said, a lot of people buy second-hand, and the main reason is still affordability.
Yes.
As the number 1 reason. Sustainability is only second, but so we have this upscaling effect of 85% of the people who buy on Vestiaire buy a brand more premium than what they could afford new. So, for example, they buy Gucci instead of buying Isabelle Marant, or they just move away from fast fashion by buying Mage or first designer brand. So I think this is good. We contribute in the buy less, buy better, and you can afford a brand that maybe firsthand you will not be able to buy. Yeah. And the third, what I hear a lot, and especially from the people in Singapore, is that they are fashion lovers. They want to buy the bag from collection 5-6 years ago. They can't find it in the shops. So just we have an assortment which is virtually unlimited, and we connect a community of fashion lovers. You can go in the comments section. People are crazy about I know this piece. It was in John Galliano Festival 15 years, but you changed its part. So we connect these people and we help them to find a piece that are sitting just in someone's wardrobe. So very unique in their pieces as well.
Thank you. In fact, I read that even a first-hand luxury good buyer might still go to your website because they're looking for limited edition that they couldn't get before. Thank you so much. Okay, now, Nathaniel, let's talk about Decathlon. And there's a lot of, I think, audience here interested in your transformation journey.
Yeah.
Doing what you do, I'm sure you know a lot about how it's done. So could you share with us how is sustainability reflected in Decathlon products?
So basically, we started an approach of eco-design products, and eco-design products is basically a preventive approach which sort of limits your carbon footprint by product. And honestly, this was extremely difficult to change. So when you go to the product designer and say you have to produce this for less CO2, there are a lot of possibilities. You can change the components, you can change the way you make it, you can change the place where you're making it. So the possibilities are endless. And then when you actually start working on it, you start to see there are a field of impossibilities. Completely change in mindset. Why? Because for 47 years, you are really, really good at making this t-shirt. So to overcome and to change this habit, it takes a big mindset change. And the biggest challenge is to overcome the habit, but not only it's to say the first solution is the best solution. No, it is not the easiest solution that will make the biggest difference. It's the continuous change to find really the lowest carbon footprint for each product being created. And so we use a tool called Gliptech. Gliptech is a product environmental footprint tool. It's basically commissioned by the European Union in 2018. And when you start to calculate the carbon footprint of your product, then you know that you can change a lot of decisions around the product. The first, we saw that, in countries like China, it's very carbon intensive. Versus in Europe, they use a different energy mix. They use coal, they use biofuel, they use gas. So already on the same product, you have a different footprint that is being emitted. So thanks to this study, right, we also saw that, recycled polyester made in China emits more CO2 than virgin polyester made in France.
Oh, wow.
So that sort of speaks the change. You say, now, do you make the product in France or do you make the product in China? Do you make it with recycled polyester or do you make it with new polyester? Because even that has an impact. So the eco-design approach has basically two different approaches. The first approach is from an existing product that was already made. Can I emit 10% less CO2 on the same product because I changed the process of creating? So we have new technologies like Byton, where when you make a t-shirt, you have a cross stitch, horizontal and vertical stitch, and we only dye one stitch. So the other stitch, we leave it with its original color, and that impacts the coloration of the products. But that's our choice because you emit 50% less water used when you use Byton technology. The second one is to use recycled material, recycled polyester, recycled cotton, organic cotton. So this impacts the environment much less. And the third kind of eco-design products are products that will last longer. And we want to make it affordable for people to continue to repair, assemble, use the products. So it's not just about creating products that can be disassembled and reassembled, but also making the cost of reparation and the cost of extending the life of the product very affordable, which means we have to change our workshop organization, to make prices friendly so that people want to continue to use the same product over a long period of time. And so that's the eco-design approach that we have taken. And it's a big change for all the designers, producers, because, to undo and to change the way we do things after a long period of time is a challenge. And today in Singapore, we are quite lucky because the designers have done an amazing job and we are increasing our catalog threefold. So in last year, 2 years ago, it was 10% of our catalog that was eco-design. Last year, it was 16%, and today we are at 30% of our catalog that are eco-design. So this is how we impact the design approach. And why did we start with this first? Is because 83% of all our CO2 emissions comes from extraction of raw material, production of the products, selling, and end of life. So this is where we see that there is a biggest impact on our carbon footprint as a company. Yeah. So
let me ask some questions on behalf of the audience because we're having some conversation before the session starts. Right? So how do you make the business case? A lot of what you say is a lot about we want to do this because it reduces emission. What about profitability? So what's the criteria? What kind of horizon do you look at? And how do you justify embarking on a certain transformation?
Yeah, so we move a little bit into the circular economy. And circular economy is very interesting, not just because it's good for the planet, but it's also extremely good for a consumer. Mm. A child who is learning how to ride a bike, he should not buy a bike. He should rent a bike class with Decathlon. Decathlon provides the bike for you every Saturday over a 2-week period. You pay a small fee and you learn how to ride a bike. And then when you finally learn how to ride a bike and you're cycling to school on a daily basis, then you rent over a longer period of time. You rent over one year, you pay $5 a month and you rent a bike because you know that you're going to outgrow the bike. And then when you're a teenager and you change your mind a lot with different disciplines, then you need the possibility to buy, for example, a road bike because I'm passionate about road cycling for 5, 6, 7 months. But after that, I want to start mountain cycling in Chestnut Drive. So I need to be able to sell back the bike to Decathlon and use that to buy a mountain bike. So it makes a lot of sense really for the customer first. And as a consequence, a very good consequence, it makes a lot of sense for the planet. And that's what we want to do in the circular economy, to provide different models which suit the different customer segments based on their needs. And we see that when we start to open up these new models, we are able to keep customers longer with Decathlon. And that's great. We don't have to pay to acquire new customers. They keep coming back over and over again. Yeah.
Okay. So in a way, you're answering my question saying you're looking on a long-term customer relationship loyalty point of view. You can't touch on something that's pretty much my second question, because as I'm reading through the website, you have very interesting product offering that you say want to promote the reusable product. You talk about things like increasing repair of the product, which is quite unusual because Singaporean, by the way, have a very culture of disposing things rather than keeping things, for example. There's also a plan for rental subscription model. Could you talk more about that? Yeah.
Sure. Mindset shift. We see that globally, our customers use our products. Can you guess how many times a year? Anybody wants to guess? How many times a year does a customer use a sports product globally?
3 times.
3 times?
3, 4.
Yeah, so 7 times a year. Okay, 7 times in 365 days that I use a product. So now we want to change from the economy of ownership to the economy of use. Instead of selling one product to one customer who uses it 7 times a year, why not use the same product to have endless amount of customers using it 365 times, 365 days in a year? That's the vision where we want to move towards, and that focuses on maximizing the value of the product. So that's more the circular business model, and you have many different ways to do it. You can rent, you can buy back, you can lease, you can promote C2C renting. So many different business models that we can work on based on the circular economy.
Do you have already examples of this kind of circular economy for, I would say, low cost product? Because the point is, when it's low cost, then what's the value to carry because the supply chain engineering is very difficult, much more difficult than the straightforward one set.
Yeah.
So do you have some example that show that there could be a business case? Because at the end of the day, there has to be a business case.
Yeah. So what we want to do with our low-cost products, a lot of our textiles, it doesn't make sense to come back, repair, and then give it to someone else. So this is where actually the brand Foclas or Kesha, one of our brands, they focus very strongly on using recycled material for textiles. Why? Because we want to promote returning of the products once you finish using it. And these products will become the components of tomorrow. So we need to close the loop in our production, and we want to promote a lot of recycling in our stores, and want to incentivize customers to recycle in our stores so that we can break it down, use it for raw material again to create other products. So we don't have a solution for circular economy for all the products, but for recycling for low-cost products, that's the direction we want to head to. And that's why we have to change the way we design the products as well, not just from recyclable material, but to be recycled in the future as well.
I think we're going a bit fast, so maybe we should pause and take some questions.
Sure.
Any questions?
There's a question from our live audience. So this is for Nat. They asked, referencing the recent incident involving Decathlon, Sports and Go and others, what are your thoughts on traceability and greenwashing, and how do we overcome the challenge?
Yeah, I knew it was gonna come. Traceability is extremely important because we want to promote the products with many different owners. So what Decathlon specifically is trying to do is, for our own products, we stamp our products with QR codes. And like this, we are able to see whether it's the first owner, the second owner, the third owner, what is the carbon footprint on the product, how has the product journey been with which different business model. So it's something which is extremely difficult to do. And we are starting with some shoes. You already see some shoes, you can scan the QR products. Regarding greenwashing, I think it's important to be very transparent, but also the choice of your partners are extremely important in the journey. So a lot of auditing, a lot of follow-up has to be done, because recycling in itself is not just one person's job. You have the collection, you have the logistics, you have the recycling vendor, and then you have the one who is buying the recycled materials to use it for a specific purpose. So there has to be a lot of transparency across all the partners, and I think that's important, yeah, for the future of recycling.
I think that's a problem for company trying to embark on a sustainability journey. They start somewhere, then after people saying the greenwashing, what about the other area? But you have to start somewhere, right? So yeah, it can't be perfect overnight. Any other questions from the audience, perhaps? Yes.
You mentioned, Nathaniel, that 83% of the carbon footprint in Decathlon is from the production to the selling. Where the other 17% are from?
Yeah, so you have transport of goods.
Yeah.
You have teammates traveling. You have customers traveling. So we also measure our scope 3 emissions, because we are opening stores. Customers are traveling to our stores, so you have them. So these are the three main 17% remaining.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, hello. Shall I say my name?
Yes, please. Oh, yes. You should introduce yourself so you know who's asking the question. Yes.
I'm working here for this group, and I'm an expert in I work for. I'm in charge of responsible marketing and communication and greenwashing. The question for Decathlon, obviously you're super ahead on all these aspects, and you are making a great job. My question is more upstream, knowing that initially Decathlon is a very affordable brand, so with lots of very, very cheap items, accessible items, but not very high quality, to be honest. So my question is more upstream. So in terms of, I understand economic circularity, all the stuff you're doing is amazing, but my question is more originally, all your items are manufactured and produced in Asian countries where salaries are very low. So in terms of due diligence and all these aspects, what's your position?
Yeah.
And how is it working today in this new transformation journey?
Yeah.
Because you're very much on the eco part, but what about the social part of the sustainable journey?
Yeah, you Google transition plan Decathlon, and you will see there are a few different elements. One element is specifically a topic with our suppliers. Managing all the human rights with our suppliers, making sure our suppliers transform to renewable energy, ensuring that no child labor, no women being discriminated in the factories. So we sign with production factories over a long term. You know, we don't sign a short-term partnership. So this guarantees stability for the production factories, but also for us in terms of the components that we are sourcing, looking for. So all the information is around suppliers. You can find a lot more than I can share today. But the main message is we do take care of the human rights of our suppliers. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why in the beginning I was saying my focus is on environmental impact. And if you read the sustainability report, it's 100-page report. There's a fair chunk of it on social equity. So that addresses your question actually. Yeah. Yeah, Jerome, maybe you should also introduce yourself before you ask the question.
From AXA Climate, the team arm of AXA Insurance Company. I have a question for you, Baptiste. 3 questions in fact. How do you secure the traceability to be sure that the products are really original source? Second one, what are your relationship with the companies who are producing first-hand the products? And second one, how do you see kind of speculative behavior on second-hand? We see a lot. Some T-shirts with nothing on it, just sold 3 times with increasing prices. Or is it for you a part of circular economy, or it's just how do you see this speculative behavior on second-hand products?
So maybe I'll take the speculative part first, and the first 2 are more linked to each other. We've seen it recently. I think we are in a market of craftsmanship, almost art. There is speculation and art and everything. Yes, the price of a Patek Philippe or Audemars Piguet is only going up. There is speculation to it. I think it is how it is because there is a demand and offer supply. We cannot produce as much as what they want. Everything is limited, especially for the vintage piece that are no longer produced. So if more people want it, the price goes up. And at least with our platform, it's transparent. People know where to find it. And actually the brands are coming back to us. Kering is one of our investors. And they said the database we have with our price is what they want because they know exactly what is the real price of this bag globally. When they know that for luxury, having a global price model is very different. Chanel has a different solution.
I read that Vestiaire Collective has implemented a QR code on your item that you sell to see exactly the sourcing to have full transparency of the journey of the item before, right? Is that correct or?
Partially. So it's a bit following the traceability also on your question. We do not make the product, so we do not have the first information. So we do not know if the product has been authenticated or not. But we are working with the brands, and new brands are putting what they call this digital passport, RFID or QR code. But the QR code is also can be fake, so it's more RFID, and I think technology will evolve. So we need the brands to make the first move from the product creation. And from our side, we have authentication, very advanced authentication. We have 6 centers in the world, more than 60 people. It's more than 3 months training, and we do digital authentication so that we ensure that all the products that go live on the platform have been checked by a team. We have 10 people here in Singapore to do it, just for this market and to be in different time zone. And then we have physical authentication. For 15 euros, $25, it goes in our warehouse and it's authenticated by our team. We have a video that explains how to do it. It's fun. It's actually very fun to watch and very engaging. It's a very thorough process. And now for the sustainable and circular things, of course, if I want to buy it from Nathaniel, I want to get the product directly from him. So we also have direct shipping so that he can send directly to me if he thinks that I'm a trusted seller. Otherwise, he can choose the authentication, and then it goes in our center where we authenticate and we release the money only after we confirm that the product is legit. And then, because we cannot guarantee also that Nathaniel sell back the same product, then he can go back for authentication. So yeah.
The last question. Given the cost of authentication, of supply chain and all that, what is for you the bottom price under which then this is not working any longer? That is to say, under 500 or under 200, this is not working any longer. There is no business model for cost plus margin.
So we have a commission model. So we take a commission on what you sell. So we just adapt the commission. And basically with our commission model, if it goes below $20, $30 after, it depends on the business model, because of course lower price point is good for acquisition of new customer. So sometimes we are willing to invest in this, but the commission we take for lower price point is higher, so that we make sure we are still profitable. And by having this authentication at $25, it also
it can allow you to go quite down in the prices of
yes,
of the product you can access to.
Any more questions from the floor? Okay, otherwise, I'll give one more question to Baptiste. I read that in October 2019, Vestiaire actually opened a offline luxury boutique at Selfish department store on Oxford Street in London. So what's the motivation of that? Because they are moving from online to offline mode of transaction.
Yeah, I think we are a full online business, which is good because it's very scalable. It gives you instant footprint in all the countries. Also much easier to adjust to different markets. What we are doing in Selfridge is a good example of us trying to get another footprint, reach out to customers that do not trust yet online, or because they just buy them to buy firsthand. We are also in Le Bon Marché today in Paris. Le Bon Marché is a very premium department store where all the big brands are. And I hope one day I can be in Ion. We are looking at it as well. I think it has a cost. It's not really who we are. I don't know for how long we will be there, but it's good to be there to activate, to have events so that people can see. But of course, we do not have the inventory. It's also the beauty of our business is we don't hold stocks. On top of that, the stock is very expensive. So I can have a shop at Selfridge, but if the product is in Nathaniel's wardrobe, I cannot display it in a shop in Selfridge. So we do it with some very unique PCs or some VIP customers that we have, and in that case, we do some activation there.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, one of the biggest driver of someone stopping from someone buying online is trust.
Yes.
So sometimes consumers you want to touch and feel, especially when they're paying so much for something. Okay. Can we talk about, this is the topic of marketing. So could you talk about a bit about how do you market your company? What kind of online marketing do you do? Yeah.
So I think it's, as you said, a lot about trust, especially here in Asia. I mean, it's nascent. We've seen a gigantic boom over the last few years in Europe, where there's no more shame to buy secondhand. Here in Singapore, Hong Kong, it's still really like affordability, as I was mentioning, that is the first driver for that. So how do you build that trust? So that's why we made that video showing in our authentication center in France how it's made. It's also about communicating on the platform. Why is it good to buy secondhand? Why you can trust it? And so we have different partnership. Of course, we work with a lot of brands. So that's, I think, the first sign of partnership. Last week it was Chloé, the week before it was Courage, and we have more exciting partnerships that I can't disclose, but the brands directly wanting to work with us. So you go back to the shop, you give back your bag. In exchange, you get a voucher to buy something new, and then they resell the bag on our platform. That's a great way to build trust. After, what works here is also a lot of influencer, people that explain, because our message is not straightforward. It's not only as what we do in e-commerce, not just a product and a price.
Sure.
You need to educate more, share a bit more about why this brand, how does the authentication work, when will the product arrive, all these things. So social media, I mean, it's a bigger trend, but in stories, you can communicate a message more. And now there's the Paris Fashion Week. So we have people in Paris that are communicating, showing the different style, explaining that you can find them there. Also how to use our platform. I come more from a tech background, but a lot of people are just fashion lovers. In our platform, you can negotiate, you can see different products, you can upload directly the products. So it's a lot about explaining to our users how our platform works and building this trust little by little.
Thank you. All right, Nathaniel, coming back to you. Haven't been speaking for a while. So coming back to this topic about behavior additive gap. Sometimes a lot of times accessibility product starts with the consumer, right? Consumers have to drive, and that kind of influence the whole supply chain, whole value chain, for example. Could you share with us what kind of things that Decathlon do to make consumers more sustainable and to behave more sustainably?
Yeah, we see the action in intention gap in Singapore. It's quite wide.
Same everywhere.
Yeah, same everywhere.
Yeah.
And Synthesis did a report, on profiling sustainable customers. So a big chunk of our customer base are pragmatic heartlanders, people who live in the Yio Chu Kang, Ang Mo Kio, with families, 1, 2 young kids. And what do they care about? They only care about how expensive is my kids' education, how expensive is the milk powder. Am I going to have a good future for my kids with the right school? These are on top of their mind. They don't have how can I be more sustainable and green in their mindset at all.
Yeah.
So in the way we have to influence or communicate them, I believe in not changing step by step. I believe in a radical change. And I believe that if the action intention gap is going to be very big for the consumer, then the action has to come from us, Decathlon. We have to make that change. You know, one very simple example, for a long time, we don't return our trays in the coffee shop. And then the government imposes a fine and everybody follows. Because we've been trying to communicate for a long time to people, please return your tray, please return your tray. People don't move, right? So the change has to come from Decathlon, and that's why we said we'll go cashless. We start selling your eco-design blue bags. We stop giving free bags. For all our click and collect customers, you remove bags, so you just take the product, you don't take any packaging with it, and people just follow. We change our eco-design range, and we see that more and more people are buying eco-design products. But I don't think it's because it's eco-design that they buy the product. We just change it, and we just need to keep what is relevant for the customer on top of their mind. Cost. Is this product good for me? Can I use it for my family, my friends? Can I continue to do sports with my product? And that's top of the mind. So keep that, but change everything else within, and that's how you're going to change it. Hopefully one day they start to understand, okay, what is an eco-design product? What is a second life product? I can tell you, they buy a second life product, the first thing they see, what is the discount? First thing they see, and I think that influences most of their behavior.
A question regarding, you talked about at the beginning of risk, climate risk versus locations for flood or any risk coming, and then you talked about the question on the location of production regarding CO2 content or supply chain, for example. You already made some decision to relocate some production, storage, or even distribution assets related to risk and related to CO2 impact?
Yes, a small range of products is now being made in France. We used to make our football boots in Pakistan, China, Bangladesh. And on our new football boots, which made of completely recycled material, the best place to make it is in France. The biggest customers who are more demanding on sustainable consumption are in Europe. So it makes sense to relocate some of our product assortment based on where there is a demand, but also where it impacts less CO2. So yes, we decided to not move too fast into expansion in certain territories which we want to, and we are starting to relocate or downsize some of our stores, knowing that there is an impact in the change. For example, in Japan, we will start to move completely to an online model. Likewise in America, it doesn't make sense to have a store there, so we start to move our business model to be purely online or sales with others. So we are trying to find new ways to still continue to be relevant to the customer, but not impacting the environment so much by having a new construction building, which has a lot of impact on the environment. So yes, some decisions have already been made, but we need to go faster. Yeah, we need to go faster.
Maybe we should introduce yourself.
Yes. So Brice, founder and general manager of BISU, and also co-president of the Energy and Infrastructure Committee of the French Chamber of Commerce. So for the football boots that you talked about, Nathaniel, I let you drink, no worry. What changed in terms of cost? So your own cost. So maybe your own cost increased by 2-3 times. So what did it change in terms of your cost, and what did it change in terms of your sales as well? Because if your costs increase, did your sales increase by even more?
Yeah.
So does it matter really in terms of business sense?
Makes a big difference in our. I go back to Fog Glass with the gloves. We were selling it at 10 euros. The market was selling the same gloves at 35 euros. Do we really need to sell at 10 euros? No. Normally, when we introduce eco-design into our components, the component cost increased by about 15%, but we are still affordable on the market, and that's our position. We don't need to be 40-50% cheaper than the market. We can be 30% of the market, And for our 10 euro gloves, we increased the price by 2 euros. And in fact, we sold more because people also, especially in Singapore, they see price equals low quality. So low price equals low quality. And that's the challenge that we're trying to change, to say, hey, it's not low price, low quality. And sometimes you need price to be a factor to change the mindset to say, it's not $10 anymore, it's $15 or $16. People normally associate it with a better quality and they buy it. So naturally, when we see that the component cost increases, for sure, we increase our price, but we are still much, much cheaper than the competition. And it's not just to be cheaper than the competition, but also to see what is the value that the customers are willing to buy it at. And we realize, wow, our customers are willing to pay $5, $6, $7, $10 more for a product. So why not to do business and use that additional resources to find ways to decrease the component cost, which is growing steadily.
Yeah. I'm a big fan, like most Singaporeans, I'm a big fan of Decathlon products. So I really like the fact that, make it low cost, because that's the way to drive more sustainable behavior, because a lot of consumers, even though they are concerned about environment, are not willing to pay more to be more sustainable. Emily, can I bring the session to a close? Okay. So before I ask my last question, any more questions from the floor? Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Shin from EHL Hospitality Business School. With our friend's comment earlier on about quality, I'm feeling a bit defensive because I just bought the Decathlon product. But my question is more around the quality versus all that you do with regards to sustainability. How do you strike a balance between both of them? And of course, I think quality is subjective, depending on how you use it, etc. But any thoughts on that?
One element of the eco-design is to start to design products for life. So if you look at the Cashua or 4+ brand, one element is quality, second one is to design for life, the third one is to decrease the cost of repairing, and the fourth one, of course, to decrease the CO2 components. We have to force ourselves to do all. We have to force ourselves to do all if you really want to make a change. Because if you start to make it more sustainable, less impact on the environment, but it's low quality, a customer is still going to throw it away and buy a new product. So then you do the complete opposite of what you intend to do. So if there has to be an increase in component costs in order to ensure the quality is still there, we do it. I would like to tap more on the circular model, because a lot of people think if I start to buy second-hand products, I don't buy first-hand products. But in fact, the circular business model is super profitable, because the old way of making business is I make $20 margin off a bike, and the only way to make $20 more margin is I need to produce another bike and sell another bike. But the new way is I make $20 margin off a bike, I buy it back from you after 2 years at 60%, and I give you a voucher. You spend money on the voucher. I fix it for $10 and I resell it at $80. That's another margin there. And then I buy it back from you again. And then I lease it over a 1-year period, $5 a month. And that's where I have another $60 margin on the same product. So finally, economically, it makes complete sense. It's super profitable, the buyback model in Europe. Because you are not producing more, but you are maximizing the value margin of one product, which is completely amazing. So that's where we need to continue to design for life so that we can continue this circular economy. And that's where quality comes into play.
I saw some hands, yeah.
Hi, I'm Nadej, working for Chanel. So first of all, thank you very much to both of you. It's very insightful and very interesting business model. So I have a question related to the regulatory landscape, because we see this big push coming from Europe related to circular economy. Do you see that happening in the region, and how does that impact you? And also more for Decathlon, maybe, when you develop an eco-design product in Europe, they are made according to the environment regulatory push. Do you have the same kind of assessment here, and how do you manage this discrepancy?
Who wants to go? Okay, I'll go with the second question. Honestly, the regulation here is much lax compared to Europe, but it's coming. We start to tax on the carbon footprint for companies who are emitting more than a certain amount of CO2. So far, we are not impacted. The brands create a product catalog range, and then we localize our offer for Southeast Asia. So on the category planners part, there is a KPI on the percentage of eco-design products that they have to choose. Now they don't have a choice, they have to choose X% of eco-design products created by the brand. And finally, the dream is to have 100% of eco-design products by 2026. So we are in a stage to get there. And sooner or later, as I said, don't need to influence, just make the radical change. And you don't have to choose anymore, to make it simple. So as I shared, we are increasing from 10 to 30% our eco-design range, as much as possible that is relevant for the local market. And I think we have 40% of eco-design catalog globally. So we are not very far from the brands globally, in Southeast Asia.
Anything to
Yeah, from our side, yes, I wish all the governments would do a bit more and would take a bit more dramatic approach. I think, but it's not easy because it's every players in the organization, from the logistics provider to the first product maker. So we try to educate people, sharing what we do. Last week I was with the Singapore Fashion Council to help them. I just joined their steering committee for sustainability. So my goal is to lobby slowly a bit more to government, not only to consumer and to educate, but it takes time. And every time people are very receptive and really willing to support. But I think we are going in the right direction, but I agree it's a bit slow.
I have a question more for Baptiste. So I'm Mary from Panelists. You mentioned you don't sell any fast fashion item on your website. But how do you define fast fashion?
So
because there's like two angles on the product. The fact that some brands are producing collection very often, and also on the composition side. You mentioned Sandro, Hommage, and West Group. They are not the best example if you look at the textile and the material they use. So how you define that?
Yeah. So a bit like Nathaniel, I knew it was coming and for this question. It was a long discussion. I think it took more than 1 year within the company to decide, should we ban fast fashion or not? So, pro-militant, yes, we should, no, we should not. We heard all the stories, better to have a second life for H&M product rather than just one life. What we did, so last Black Friday, we announced that we will ban fast fashion. And then we came up with a classification of brands, starting from the one that are the most evil one, then the one a bit better, different classifications. So I think we put them in 3 different buckets. We offline the first bucket, so you can't list those brands anymore. And then we'll move on to the next bucket, little by little, because first, our consumer was still there and we don't want to prevent that. The reaction was very strong from everyone. So we are moving bucket by bucket based on all the criteria you mentioned. How many collections do they do a year? What material do they use? The condition of the workers as well. It's our way to be activist. We can sell a lot of revenue in GMV. That's honestly a big challenge, but this is a statement we wanted to make.
Okay. And another question on the same. Do you have any material that you ban? So for example, I don't know, like in fashion, it's very exotic leather or fur are getting more and more complicated to sell and to advertise.
So it is also a sensitive issue. Like in Singapore, you can't import exotic leather. So it's some of the complexity of our platform, having a global platform. The short answer, not for now. Also, again, we have people in our company that would like to ban. But also today the leather is polluting really a lot, probably more than using crocodile or this type of skin. So what would you rather, sell something that already exists in Spindair made of animal skin, or something of leather that pollutes even more and it's also animal skin? So today, no, but I think the production has stopped, so you can still buy fewer, I think, but the production has stopped in most brands. So for now, we keep it there.
Thank you. So just to make sure we don't ignore those online, Rodel, my colleague at the back, is there any questions from the online? No? Okay. So any more questions? Okay, so let's end with this. Okay. Any thoughts, any key learning you want to share with everyone? I suppose from Nathaniel, in terms of your transformation journey for Baptiste, maybe for someone who's thinking of starting a business, a startup in sustainability. Any key learnings that you want us to take away from this session?
Yeah. First one, sustainability has to be on your CEO's agenda. I think it is, because my CEO keep asking me about how we are doing in the circularity and eco design sales. It does impact his board.
Is he listening in right now?
I think so.
Okay.
It has to be, and so I'm direct report line to my CEO, and then that's where you can move things quickly. But for me, choose few but very impactful changes and use data to help you. And the last one, impact everyone in your organization. First time in many years that our bonus components is based on our sustainability initiatives. So then everyone has to move regardless of which job you're doing. And then you make an impact and you move people faster. Sustainability is not my team and my job, but it's everyone's role, and we made it a point very clearly. Decide what is going to be scalable in the change that you're making, because it's going to be a lot of topics that you have to tackle, and what can be feasible and scalable for your teammates, for your consumers, for your business model, because you don't want to just launch an initiative for 1 year and then realize, hey, it doesn't work because I'm losing a lot of money, so I can't do it next year. So we decide to be sustainable. Also, you need to have the economics behind and do that study in next 3, 5, 10 years if you want to continue to make that change. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the idea of making bold move and impactful and stick to your vision. In our case, the vision is quite aggressive, and we implemented direct shipping. So as I said, for people to send to each other, because it's sustainably good, that the product doesn't go from A, B, C and come back to him. And the fast fashion move, it's a big move, and also authentication. In the last 2 years, we can sell 400 million of fake product that were for our platform. People say that's revenue, and we know the short-term goal target we have in a tech environment, but this is for the long-term trust of our customers. So this is paramount. So you have to stick to that, and it helps you. It makes me feel sleep better at night when I know I make a decision that impacts short-term, but long-term, I know it's the right thing. Because it's the value, and your CEO as your backup, he will never go against that. So for us, we are building the market locally. So we want Singapore people to start selling. It's much more difficult than Singapore buyers buying products from France. But this is the long-term objective we want for our company. So we are willing to take the hit for 1, 2, 3 years. But this is for the long-term sustainability of our company and the positive impact to the region.
Thank you. I think that's a good note to end, in the sense that, sustainability have to be ingrained in the organizational value. That's pretty much the key point that both guests have shared. So Baptiste and Nathaniel, thank you so much. You've been great sharing, make my life so easy today. And thank you everyone for coming and those online.
So thank you for joining online, and for our participants who are here today, you are welcome to stay. We still have a couple of minutes and enjoy the breakfast provided by ESSEC. Thank you again. Feel free to stay and connect with speakers if you have any more questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I learned a lot.